the whole idea of conserving by removing objects or things from the communities they belong is an ideology that perhaps we need to rethink as museums, because it also begs the question then, who are we preserving for? Who are we conserving for? So we need to think about that a little bit.
It's really a conversation about what is a healthy lifetime for an object, for a valued object, or for material heritage. What does that look like? What does a healthy lifelong journey look like? And as you would say with really any kind of primary care in a medical field, we can't keep you from aging. We can't keep you from experiencing disease. We can't keep you from experiencing damage and deterioration. But what we can do is we can help you age in a way that is significant and meaningful.
For me, conservation is really, it starts with that motivation of wanting to care for something, to maintain it, to keep it accessible. And that's what I mean with keeping it accessible, is so it is there. But it doesn't sometimes even mean that it needs to be there physically, because even a record of it, or a beautiful drawing of it, or maybe a photograph of it can be also enough, because certain things we might want to keep, we can't keep because of the material that degrades. And so conservation for me really in that sense is to think about, if I want this to last, what would I need to do or put in place for this to last?
Conservation is important because of the many reasons. One of the reasons is important in order to get to prepare that object for educational purpose. If there is no conservators or the conservation, if it is not important, the other generation or the visitors or the researchers or the other people that are visiting for their own purposes, they cannot find that historical object or monumental object antiquities. They will not find it to make their research. They will not find it to make their own investigation. They will not find it to come and see what their ancient or forefathers did.
And it's quite interesting to see how everyone's background, because I think in different regions of the world and of course different countries, they have different preparation in terms of their conservation studies. And especially with Asia, many of the museums in Asia either don't have the resources to have a conservation team. So then it falls all these various roles that is in the museum: curatorial, registration, conservation, all fall in with, a small group of people.
As we gain knowledge, we need to consider how to emphasize reinforcing heritage resources, values, and significance in order to restore its relevance to the communities by making decisions with them. By encouraging a sense of pride and ownership in their own cultural history, we empower communities as we work with them to actively participate in the preservation and promotion of their own cultural heritage.
I think, that whole idea of looking at collections rather than just at single objects, looking at long-term rather than day-to-day, are things that have, ideas that have kept going from that moment. And, the whole idea of preventive conservation, I think it's one of the larger and more important working groups within ICOM CC.
So conservation as a profession is not very different the way it is perceived in other countries, but the way we handle it, there are slight differences. That conservation is not very old profession here in India. It is developing, and it has developed a lot in the last 20 years. Before that, if we look at conservation here in India, it was like a very traditional practices, the traditional materials that were used. And differences were that all those traditional materials today, we know that these have been used, but we cannot use unless we have research-based evidences that these are actually good to be used.